The Chancellor, George Osbourne, has defended his plans to impose further cuts on public services, saying they're a price that works for our country. Speaking to the BBC, Mr Osbourne compared the Conservatives' economic policies to those of the other main parties as a choice between competence and chaos. The Liberal Democrats accused the Tories of wanting austerity forever. Our political editor Nick Robinson spoke to the Chancellor at Manchester's Museum of Science and Industry.
Do you know what Einstein's most famous equation was?
That's the sort of thing you get asked if your host is the country's top TV scientist, Brian Cox. But the trickier question George Osborne's facing just now is about another equation. Take 4 years of austerity, add another 4, subtract £55 billion worth of spending cuts, and what do you end up with? Job cuts, pay cuts, service cuts. Is that wrong?
Well, I am absolutely straight with people that we're going to have to make savings in government departments, that we're going to have to cut certain welfare bills like benefits that go to working age people. But the prize is economic stability, growth, jobs in the future, a brighter future for Britain. I think that is a price that works for our country.
Funny thing, politics. Only last week, the Chancellor and his Lib Dem deputy, Danny Alexander, walked out of the Treasury together to sell their agreed tax and spending policies. This week, though, they're out separately, warning that each other's ideas for the future would be mad and a price not worth paying.
The Tories want to keep on cutting beyond what is necessary, which can only be because they believe, for ideological reasons, they want to have a smaller state.
So you're building the future. So exciting.
The Chancellor says critics likes to boast about what he is spending on, like the cash he's putting into building this new science institute in Manchester, but he's much more reluctant to spell out the consequences of his own planned cuts. Now, you say that people should be straight with the public. Are you going to be straight? Let's test it. Do you agree with the Office for Budget Responsibility that there could be 1 million jobs in the public sector lost?
Well, jobs have already had to go. And if we go on taking what I think are realistic decisions on public sector pay, then we can afford to have people in sufficient numbers in the public sector to do the jobs we ask of them.
You say realistic about pay. You are talking, are you not, about real pay cuts for every public sector worker for at least another 4 years?
But this country has to live within its means. We have to have a government we can afford.
Code, his deputy now says, for policies that are harsh, doctrinaire and certain to inflict unnecessary pain. Isn't it pretty annoying for a taxpayer to watch you and the Deputy Prime Minister, you and your own deputy in the Treasury, trading blows about who's going to run the economy properly?
Well, people know there's an election in a few months' time, and there's going to be a real choice for the country. That choice between competence and chaos, and the competence offered by the Conservatives in their long-term economic plan.
George Osborne's come back to his adopted home city to promote his plan to build a northern powerhouse, helped by Manchester City's billions, and a belief, he says, in investing in the future, which once inspired Manchester's Victorian entrepreneurs.
Look around us. You know, the people of the past, our forebears, they thought about Britain's future, and Britain was great. We're thinking about Britain's future, and Britain can be great.
Some will say there is a big difference between that rather inspiring dream and the grim reality of councils around Manchester facing £200 million worth of spending cuts this year alone.
Well, because our country is starting to live within its means, and that includes difficult decisions on day-to-day spending by local government, we're able to make big investments.
The future here certainly looks exciting. The question the Chancellor's facing, though, is whether the price of entry is a price anyone's willing to pay. Nick Robinson, BBC News, Manchester.